So I'll make the motion.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, Joe, how about a financial update?
Okay, the balances at March 31st, fund balances totaled 17.8 million, 10.9 were FAD funds, 2.8 Putnam Quip funds, and 4.1 Westchester Quip funds. The checks drawn today total $80,741, of which FAD expenditures for the month of April total $48,991. Go right into the tax returns.
Sure.
The draft returns have been distributed to everyone, and I've reviewed every number on there. They all look good. Everything looks fine. This meeting today is for you to accept them unless you have any questions. And then if you approve of both the New York and the federal returns, I will ask Patty to put them in final form because they're currently in draft form. And we'll get those signed at the May quarterly meeting.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to accept the Form 990 and the Char 500 submission.
Motion.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
All
you.
right.
The list of reporting and due dates. I did reach out last month with email to everyone, and they all responded that yes, they would get back to me, and then no, they did not get back to me. That yes, they would take care of it, but we still have the same 6 people who have not returned some of their forms,
I mean, it could be me
if
for
not
all.
all.
Could you can you just read off the names of the people?
I'll forward it. It's on the second page of your printout.
So,
Oh, so it's Ivy, Michael, James, and Matt, huh?
yeah, so what, Warren, what you want is what Joe had sent me as far as what they're missing. I got a question though. Bruce Barber, we haven't seen Bruce Barber in better than a year.
Right, we had him listed. Linda, is he not an alternate?
He's an alternate for Sam over in Putnam Lake.
Putnam
Sorry,
Valley.
Valley, right.
All right,
So alternates are required to fill out all the same forms, but you're right, we have not seen him. So I
All right,
don't know
we
the
gotta-
status on that.
I'll reach out to Sam and see what the status is with Bruce Barber.
Okay,
So on all of these things, you have the fiduciary, the board member training.
right, that's a one-time thing. So once someone becomes a member and remains a member, as long as they did that one time at the beginning, they don't have to do it every year. What's required every year is the board evaluation, as long as we have a majority, which we did this year, the conflict of interest and the financial disclosures. Now, the financial disclosures, I have not gotten back to Putnam County. She usually gives me an update on who she's missing. So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of blanks there, but that's not due until May 15th.
Do you have the URLs anyplace here for all the things that have to be done?
Yes, I send it out in one letter to each of these individuals when they first join us. So I have that in one spot that I could forward to
Send
you.
me a letter with everything, and I'll follow up with Ivy and Mary Ann, and I'll try to follow up with everybody just to tell them.
Okay, will do.
Okay.
With regard to the other items on the list of due dates, the payroll tax forms are due April 30th. They were just filed yesterday. We are starting to get we did get one submission for O&M for the spring from Bedford. We only have 2 checks remaining that have to be paid for the 2020 O&M, and that's from Brewster and Yorktown, who both have confirmed to me I'll have those by the end of the month. So Millie, with regard to your billing, it looks like we're on schedule like we were last year to do that this probably around the 2nd week of May. And I did this year, we had a new requirement that Vinnie and Mike Meyer would like every year, is a breakdown called the project accounting report for FAD projects only. And I did get that out to them yesterday. That will now become part of the year-end accounting.
Great, so that will be included in what you send to me.
I'm sorry,
So will you be?
Millie, you
including-
don't get the FAD accounting, I don't think. You get the O&M account.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm
but-
talking about two different things. Yes, Millie, you will get the accounting and all the copies of the submissions from the municipalities, who paid what we paid, and then you
This
can
the same as
reimburse
last
based
year.
on that.
Okay.
Exactly right, yes.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
You're welcome. And that's it.
Pat, I'm gonna put you on the spot. You got some training to do.
Yep, I got
Okay.
you.
All right, Kevin, you want to talk about projects, where we
Yeah.
are?
Yeah, let's dive in. We've gone out to bid on 4 RFPs for design services in the most recent weeks. They are mostly non-FAD projects with channel stabilization, catch basin inserts, and some focal point proprietary practices proposed. They should net us close to 100 kilograms in reduction scattered across the watershed, really. The first is the catch basin inserts, which are all the non-FAD areas, including Walter Panis High School in Cortland and some private property owners along Lake Mayapack in Carmel. All of these projects, we've met with the private property owners. They are on board, and pending title searches coming back for all the installation agreements. We'll work with Patrick and Christine to make sure that we have everything in order as we press ahead. I expect all those catch basin insert projects to be able to be constructed, installed rather, by the fall this year. We didn't leave very much left for our design engineers to do on these projects between Corey and I, and we think that we'll be able to jump on those pretty quick. The highlight of that group of retrofits, I think, is project LCR 804, which is at Lake Wacabuck and the 3 lake councils in Lewisboro, which should net us, I believe it was close to 50 kilograms with a combination of 2 wetland designs and channel stabilization. The 3 Lakes Council representative, whose name is Janet Anderson, has been very vocal in working with us to try to pursue some retrofits down there in Lewisboro. And we're really happy to propose this down to them. They've preliminarily accepted what we're looking to do, and we think it could be a great highlight down in that area to incorporate some educational elements for anybody walking through the trail, but with the simple use of a few signs. And it's going to hit on the lake, which is in need of some assistance in that entire watershed. So we hope to possibly award one of those in a meeting prior to the board of directors meeting in May, which would be the catch basin inserts, I believe. The rest of those will look to award in the executive committee meeting, likely at the end of the month of May. But all those will be coming back to our office for review starting essentially, I think it was May 1st. They come in next Thursday to start. To that point, and we can hit on it later if necessary, but we should all start considering who might be a good fit for the technical committee as we look to have a replacement for Michael Quinn, as whoever that's going to be is going to be, we're going to need them for review services coming up. And I, for one, would be more comfortable going into our board of directors meeting with a candidate in mind, of course, then opening it up to everybody for conversation and recommendations. But it'd be good to make sure we have somebody and not just grab them on the spot. We are working with the Army Corps of Engineers to secure funding for new CNCR 801, which looks to be able to go to construction in the fall, I believe. We don't have that final number in hand yet for what funding might be available, but I expect it to be in the neighborhood of $500,000. They'll be working with us, and once we have concluded all of our permitting with the New York City DEP and the town of Newcastle, we'll be able to press ahead to 100% design and get that project in. That'll be a project that nets us close to, I think, 22 kilograms between channel stabilization and some water quality elements installed within the road. One item that I wanted to, I think we're going to need to reach out to everybody for this. But one thing I've noticed in driving through the watershed as of late is that the DOT is out in full force, pretty much working on any culvert, anything they can find. The DOT's out there and trying to do a lot of repairs. And what comes to mind for us there is a lot of the work that they're doing could be classified as channel stabilization. And these are types of projects that we might be able to build off of and get some phosphorus reduction credits in tandem with the DOT. Now, the DOT never goes beyond their right of way. It never goes beyond their limits of their roads, but often these channels are lead into private property, or maybe they'll lead into municipal property that we might be able to tie into our program and continue the channel stabilization efforts. So if anybody, this is going to be a general announcement that I'll make at the board of directors meeting as well, that if this type of work is going on in your municipality, it's imperative to let us know, because we might be able to team up with the DOT and extend their stabilization efforts and get a little bit more credit for the program. So I think we all need to keep an eye out for what's being done in the municipalities, and then we can expand on it from there.
Kevin met with me down in North Salem over near Peeps Lake. The DOT's redoing one of their, I'll call it a bridge or a culvert, whatever it is. But I think that's one of the areas maybe where we can do some riprap on the slope and get some credit for it. And they were nice enough to actually change their what they think they're going to construct. There's some of their design based on his comments and my request too. So I think those types of things, if we find them, they'll benefit us, because the equipment's probably already going to be there. The work's going to be already ongoing, and especially if we can get that contractor to bid on it, my guess is it's going to be fairly inexpensive.
Right. This is a situation where down there they're going, let's say they're going about 50 feet along the channel, but the channel in reality could be stabilized for another 50 feet, 75 feet. So we can extend these efforts that they're doing and grab that additional credit. And I think it's a good opportunity to work with the DOT to accomplish these things, because it never hurts to have another ally in trying to execute these retrofit projects, as we're looking at the infrastructure that comes up in the future. So we'll keep all the town supervisors and engineers in the loop of the intentions there, and hopefully they can provide us a little feedback moving forward.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's the best tact on this, Kevin. Why don't we talk offline after the meeting about maybe talking to DOT direct?
Sure. Yeah, actually, we did ask the individuals that we met with out there. We did tell them, look, this is who we are. This is our intentions. Send some emails out to them. But look, absolutely, let's have that conversation.
Okay.
Because we did go directly to the DOT and say, hey, let us know what you're doing, because we could work together here. Yeah.
Kevin, on the Killer Hill one, have you been getting the easement stuff back and forth from their lawyer?
Yeah, we've been working with Christine's office to lock down what we're comfortable with, what items that they've asked for. They have, and understandably, the property owner has kind of specific requests that she's asking us to meet. I don't personally feel as though they're very difficult to meet, but we need to make, to Patrick and Chris's point, we need to be very careful of what expectations we're setting for restoration on the site there. So we're still working on that, but I feel as though we're going to lock that down pretty soon.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, let's take a step back though, Kevin. You kind of glazed right through it that we need another person on the technical committee.
Yes.
I was hoping that you had somebody in mind, but apparently you don't.
At this point, I don't know.
All right. So what I would think might be a good way to manage this is to send an email out to all the directors, all the supervisors, and basically say that, we need somebody on the technical committee. Here's, what we're looking for. And if you have anybody that you would like to recommend to be on the technical committee, please send a a resume or some sort of brief description about that individual so that we would have that list that we could go through maybe before the full meeting.
Great idea. Yep.
And then maybe you, myself, and Warren could go through that list and kind of vet some people.
Sounds good.
You could also ask the existing members of the tech committee if they want to input too.
Well,
No.
geez, I don't know, Rich.
I want to know who I'm going to be working with. That's why.
I'm just kidding with you.
Oh, just a thought. I mean,
No,
you guys
you're right.
you guys can vet all you want. It's listen, as long as there's other people doing it, it'll work,
Yeah,
right?
no. I would never not include you. And Sabrina's still the other individual on the technical committee?
Yes, Sabrina and Ed Branconti.
Would,
Oh, okay. Yep.
well, it's not really technical, but would Kevin Wynn accept it? I mean, he's actually a PE and stuff, although he's the superintendent of highways in Bedford. He's pretty good.
Well, that's not a bad idea, just from the perspective of having, somebody from the highway community to have some type of input and in conversation. It's worth considering, I think.
Well, I mean, what you want is somebody who kind of understands all this stuff and
Yep.
doing the PE stuff and
Yep.
does normally, it might be, I don't have anybody in my town that really, other than people I would have to pay to be on the committee, so.
Right.
The town engineer and stuff.
Okay, so we'll reach out to the town supervisors and hopefully be able to start forming a list in short order before we head into the meeting in a few weeks, and we'll go from there.
Great. All right. You want to talk about Paggi and the change order?
Yeah, okay, so the change order that came in from Podgy Engineering is to address items they felt were above and beyond the original contract and above and beyond their last change order that was submitted. Now, to summarize, the last change order that came in was to address the change in design that we had to go through in order to meet the requirements of keeping the soil on site down at Kent MP 601. Many of the construction administration items had already gone through to get to that point for April 17th. This change order that Podgy's brought to our attention here is what they felt were non-budgeted items, including the extension of the construction administration, the extension of the construction schedule, necessary meetings that we had to have with them as our representative during the period where the town of Kent was threatening litigation. So they feel as though there were additional hours that went into the work that was not documented to start, that they feel they are entitled for payment towards. That my goal today was simply to present everything to you all for discussion, and if necessary, continue the discussion for a decision to be made at a later date. But there was a lot of work that they did in fact have to do beyond the last change order that came in. And I do think that some of this is valid, a valid request that they've made, but we need to sort through it for sure and come to a conclusion.
So in the letter that he sent, he says, following approval of the revised design plan, substantial work was required to complete the remainder of the project, which was not budgeted in the previous change order, since the scope of the required services could not be determined until the revised design was completed and approved. What I hear you saying is there was some work that he had to do. Do you know how many hours of work? Does it match up with what he's suggesting?
They tied it into, there's a lot right on the screen right now. There's a lot that they all tied into this approximately 50 hours.
Yeah.
I went back and I asked them, can you break down that 50 hours so that we can get a better picture of what happened here, what hours went into what, so we could start picking it apart.
Did it take somebody more than a week to do all the crap that he's suggesting he had to do? Because 49 hours isn't a huge amount of time if there was a lot of work. I see drawing and a bunch of other items here.
Yeah, but Warren, understand all that drawing was covered under change order number 2.
Oh, okay. So this is this whole thing, that whole 49.75 hours is just a bunch of stuff that was not necessarily in addition to? It's not necessarily new, is that?
Yeah, they change order 2 got us to the point where we could submit something to the contractor to in conversation with our environmental consultant to make sure that we're in line with everything we needed to do. Change order 2 got us started back up again, and for construction to proceed from there. After that point, a lot of the items that they brought up here in this list was conference calls that were necessary to get the project back up and going, and restarting with the contractor, review of new submittals that were necessary for the change in design. So it's a week's time for them for the items that they did. That is within reason for what I believe they did do there. But should you want them to break out that week's time into a little bit more, to get a little more clarity on what was spent doing what, we can ask them to do that.
Well, when I look at this, I see that the previous sheet that we were just looking at, it was $7,462. So here I see the letter says it result in a $6,962.25 increase. I'm assuming he deducted something, or am I apples and oranges again?
Oh, there's a 10% reduction for professional discount.
I know, but that's obviously ends in 00, so something else is calculated in there and taken off. I looked at this and I didn't quite understand. Maybe that was why you asked me to break it out. Maybe I just didn't understand.
Well, and they do need to break this out. I frankly never have seen an engineering invoice like this where they don't give you dates and hours that they actually worked. And I think that we need that for backup.
Yeah, I think what you would just, if you haven't told them already, you probably have, Kevin, but if you did extra work, I don't think we're opposed to paying, but we just need it.
Yeah, we need further breakdown information so we can see what was really going where, and to justify it.
All right, Kevin, just a couple of comments here. They're billing us for reviewing the as-built. I don't understand why that wasn't included in the original contract, because they would have had to review the as-built regardless. And
Right.
do you have any idea? I mean, they've got a list of 49.75 hours for all the additional work they did, but then they also have 2 hours for project engineer and 1.5 for clerical services. Any idea what that was about?
Well, that top rate.
No, I got the top one. What's the last two? The 2 hours of
I feel
here and
Right here.
I think that, to your point, that this invoice isn't clear to that extent, but I have to imagine it's their junior engineer was assisting Christian, who's a senior engineer there, with all the items that were listed above. So they're probably in an effort not to duplicate the document, they probably just showed it as an additional 2 hours to their junior staff member. But again, we need more clarity.
Yep, we absolutely do. All right, so you're gonna go back to Poggy and get him to redo the invoice.
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough.
Sorry for interrupting. This is Mike with CEP. Good morning, everyone. Just a quick question on the change order. Was there any notification from the engineer at the time that the work they were doing was beyond what was in the scope? I think I'm just thinking for our sort of paper trail, it's always useful to kind of have something at the time to say, like, we're going to need a change order at some point.
So, Mike,
than
do you
after
know
the
which
fact.
project this was?
Yeah, this was the one was really super complicated with the town of Kent, but I just didn't know if they had said, like, okay, you want us to do X, that's going to require another 40 hours or 50 hours or anything like that. If there was anything like that, or emails or anything, it's just useful if it ends up being something that gets reviewed by our auditing group, if there's something at the time rather than after the fact.
So I think that was the case with the original revamped design, where we did sit down and negotiate an additional cost. That was change order number 2. What they're looking for at this point is all the stuff, all the phone conversations and the meetings that we had to have subsequent to that. There was no way to anticipate that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but to that point, Mike, we will look back and see whether or not there was anything. I don't believe that, that there was an email that got sent or something specifying, yes, we expect to have X amount of hours. But we'll look back and we'll see whether or not there was in fact anything.
Thanks.
Did
Any other
everybody see-
questions?
I just on the Kent, did everybody see the before and after pictures of the Kent project? I should send them out in an email. Kevin sent me the one before, but marvelous job. I don't understand why they're complaining about it.
They need a little more grass work there, but the end product, I was pretty happy with the way it came out.
It looks
Yeah.
gorgeous.
So
And all the crap you had to take out. I don't understand. But anyway,
Well, while we're here, listen, I'd like to mention to everybody else, I've had a conversation with Kevin that we're having great difficulty with the town of Kent. And, they're feeling that they shouldn't be obligated to take care of the O&M on the projects that are being constructed over there. So Kevin and I have talked, and, at this point, until we can get some of these issues resolved, and I don't think that's going to happen till after the first of the year, we're going to just kind of put projects in the town of Kent on hold for a little bit. Because they're coming back at us. They're saying they shouldn't be obligated to do the O&M, and they're just not going to do it. That's a problem.
Ken, we don't have any procedure for taking somebody out of the bubble compliance, do we?
I'd look back at the corporation documents, but there is groundwork for that, I think. Trust me, I've looked.
And I don't think we need to go there at this point.
Yeah.
Like I said, after the first of the year, I think things may be a little different.
And we're fortunate where a lot of the stuff in Kent at this point, where I'm not getting any response from supervisor, stormwater consultants, engineers, and I think the only person that does respond to me actually is the highway department. But a lot of those projects are at least a stopping point where we can be comfortable shelving them until we get a little bit more clarity on what we can execute over there.
Just a thought with bubble compliance, right? So if they've been in from the beginning, they get all the credits beforehand. It's anything that comes afterwards, correct? That's the
Anything
way I
that
would
we
see
spent
it.
anything we spent a dollar on, if we invested anything into the project, then we keep those credits. So yeah, so anything that
But so
happened
would
like
that
year
community.
one.
But so would the community. So let's say, for instance, the town of Carmel says, I don't want to be part of East Hudson Watershed Corporation. We're not doing that. I'm just, for instance. The credits that you've gotten so far, we're still good. We were part of bubble compliance from day one. It's anything after this that the town's required, that it's up to then the town to take care of.
Well, Rich, I'm
No,
gonna,
that's not how it's written.
I
So
don't
It's
know. I mean, I've been part of bubble compliance from day one. I should now anything, and let's say I have my credit of, I have to do 100 kilograms a year, and I already have bubble compliance of 50. I am required to do the 50 on my own. The other 50 is already taken care of.
But those credits belong to the corporation, not
And
the municipality.
all right, let me jump in here. So the way this works with bubble compliance is that's something the DEC is allowed. And, so it goes back to the DEC and what the DEC is going to do if somebody decides to leave the corporation.
Right.
It would be up to the DEC to decide that, hey, now you're in violation, you haven't met your compliance, and what you would have to do. And the DEC would have to work that out. Corporation's not going to get in the position of, we're going to say, well, now you're out of compliance. It's up
No,
to
yeah,
the
it wouldn't be
DEC.
us saying you're out of compliance. It's just who gets, the credits of what was done under bubble should be allowed to the community. And then after that, it wouldn't be allowed to the community. That's the way
Well,
I see it.
The language that's in our documents from the start is there to discourage anybody from pulling out.
Yeah,
Um,
I got you.
Yeah. Right. So if the way that was written is if we spent any money on it, then the credits belong to the corporation. Anything that was done previously where the corporation didn't spend any money on it, those credits belong to the individual municipality. But, we cross that bridge if we get to it.
Yeah, it's just, it's, if something like that's gonna happen, you're gonna need, legal to come in, and then DEC ultimately makes that decision, right? Which is what
Yeah.
Rich said, so makes
Yeah.
sense.
Okay, anybody want to talk about NCR 801?
Sure. So, what we're looking to do here is propose to stabilize two heavily eroded channels on New York City DP property that are tributary to the Kisco River. The project is in the vicinity of the habitat of the New England cottontail rabbit. So within the last 3 months, we have had a turtle and a rabbit for our projects, which I find hysterical personally. And actually, I know we have another project in the future that has dragonflies that popped up.
Awesome.
Happy Earth Day, everybody, by the way. But this this project, with the rabbits, it is a species of interest, but not a species of concern for the state, and there's no required remediation or anything for us to do on site. There's plenty of habitat for the rabbits to still enjoy, and because we're only stabilizing channels that exist. So we've gone through the process. The project will not result in any significant adverse impacts, and we'd like to pass a resolution for a negative declaration.
Somebody like to make a motion?
Well, what is it just for, what's the project number?
NCR 801.
And what does the resolution have to be? Just it's a neg deck for project NCR 801? That we're looking for?
There's a draft resolution under if you keep scrolling down the EAF form towards the bottom of that, you'll see the resolution,
Yeah.
the neg deck. Yep. There you go.
I'll make the resolution so the rabbits can live in their warrens.
Oh, thank you.
Had to go there, huh?
Well, you know what? I go for the low hanging fruit.
Do we have a second?
With rabbits and turtles,
I'll second.
dragonflies.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Does that cover that?
Yep.
O&M?
No general statements to me. I think Joanne hit on the billing end of it, and how moving forward, hoping to get everybody reimbursed and checks in a quick manner in the month of May. Continue working on everything. Other than that, no large updates.
All right, everybody's got a copy of the Board of Directors meeting agenda? Anybody have anything they want to question on that?
Give me 1 second to bring it up.
It's on the screen.
I talked about salaries, and is it on here?
Not yet.
Okay, well, so we need to have a discussion. I don't know where the best place to have it is, but
We're gonna have it in a minute.
okay.
Yeah, I think for the board of directors meeting, it's probably going to fall under the staff item, but that's up to you guys. And I assume on that we'll probably hit on the comptroller position as well, unless you want to have a specific item for that.
No, that's fine. All right, any comments on this?
No, I think that as long as the stuff's there, or as long as we have, I assume they have to vote on it. That's why I'm.
Yes. All right, so let's jump down to employee evaluations. And at this time, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to talk about employees.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
You're gonna, Linda, are you there? You're muted.
Is who there?
Okay, Rich. So you are the host now. So all you have to do is just mouse over each person and 3 little dots will come up in the upper right-hand corner.
Yep.
And you could put each person in the waiting room. And then you could release each one when you're done.
Okay.
Okay?